Welcome to my channel, Gola the Lawyer, Karibuni Sana, and today we are going to be talking about digital service tax, and I'm joined with one of my most eloquent, yes, eloquent tutors, who has been also taking the students through the commercial transactions unit offered at the Kenya School of Law. So he's called Emmanuel Ouma, and he's an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. So he's going to be joining us today and tell us more about the digital service tax, which was brought about by the Finance Act of 2020. So if you enjoy the video, share and subscribe.
Thank you so much, Atieno, for that very good and wide introduction. As she's indicated, my name is Emmanuel Ouma. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I practice in the firm of Gikera and Vadgama Advocates. I also tutor at the Atieno Gola Bar lessons, as it was, commercial transactions. I'm a business person, I'm a social person, and I like hanging out with friends. That's essentially me. So today, as she said, we are here for digital services tax, DST. And she's correctly indicated that it actually came into force on 1st of January 2021 by dint of the Finance Act 2020. Yeah. There are also regulations that were published. They are called the Income Tax Digital Services Regulation 2020 that essentially gives the parameters of how the Kenya Revenue Authority should administer this tax.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that. I think you've forgotten to say that you're well published also.
Yeah. That's true. I've had an opportunity to be published in a few journals. One of the notable ones is I was published in Chamber and Partners. My contribution on cybersecurity and generally issues of data protection. It was a series that was published sometime in March this year. Okay. So yes, thank you for that reminder.
Okay, so maybe now you could tell my viewers what is digital service tax essentially?
Digital services tax, as the title connotes, first it's a tax. Yeah, it's a tax that is levied on income that is accrued on the digital on digital services that are offered on digital market space. So what do we mean exactly by digital service that are offered on digital marketplace? There are several digital services that, when you look at the regulation, are subject to this tax. For example, downloadable digital contents. So if I told you download an app, today you download a book, download a movie, that, so the provider of that service, not you the consumer, the provider of that service is liable to pay this tax. So over the top services, that's for example, streaming, those individuals who stream a lot on Netflix. Netflix, as the service provider, is supposed to pay the tax. Yeah. The best example probably is e-learning. Yeah. E-learning. So if, as a person, you're offering the services, the e-learning services, and you actually get income from this service, of course you're getting income, you are supposed to pay the tax. Okay. Actually, the regulation lists around 10 groups of services. When you talk about issues like e-papers, let me not mention names, but e-papers, you all know of e-papers. So that service, the provider of e-paper, because essentially you are paying for this e-paper, they are supposed to remit the tax, which is normally 1.5% of the gross transaction value. Okay. Yeah. So other examples could include, and even a person who is offering a digital marketplace. Okay. And I think it's quite important that I tell the viewers what a digital marketplace is. Yeah. So the regulations define a digital marketplace as a platform that enables direct interaction between buyers and sellers of services and goods through electronic means. Yeah. So I think right now you could be thinking of some of the digital marketplaces that you know of. Most of them are international companies, and let me not mention names for tax purposes. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So like, do you mean also like good purchased online, you're supposed to levy some tax, or is it, as you said, the service provider who's supposed to pay the tax?
Very well. So as the tax connotes, it's only applicable on services. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, if you purchase some goods online, you as the consumer of the goods, you're not supposed to pay. Yeah. The only person that is paying this tax, there are actually two individuals that are supposed to pay the tax. It's one, a digital service provider, the person offering the service, and secondly, the digital marketplace provider, the person who's offering the platform that enables the service provider to provide the service. Yeah. So let's go back to, for example, if you have a YouTube channel. Yeah. So in the YouTube channel, you're offering the service, you're advertising services, and people are paying you for this service. So you see, you as the provider of the service, you're supposed to pay the tax.
Yeah.
Yeah. And YouTube, because YouTube is the one hosting your channel, you are paying them some fee. They're also supposed to pay the tax. So there are two individuals who are paying the tax: the service provider on one hand, and secondly, the marketplace provider. The service provider, they only pay the tax because they are providing service.
Yeah.
But now when we come to a digital marketplace provider, it's a different thing. Because, for example, if, let's use again the example of YouTube. If YouTube has given space or platform to a person to sell their shoes or their clothes, anything else. So we look, the person selling the shoes, because they are selling goods, they'll not pay the tax. Yeah, they'll not pay the tax because the tax is only on service. But also the tax is paid by the person offering the platform. So because YouTube is offering the platform for this person to sell the good, to sell the shoes, YouTube will be required to remit the tax, which is normally 1.5% of the gross transaction value. And when I talk about gross transaction value, essentially it's for example, if you're selling the services, you're offering the services, you'll charge a certain fee. Yeah. So that fee is what we refer to as the gross transactional value. And if let's say YouTube is offering you the platform to offer those services, you'll have to pay some maybe some fee or some commission to YouTube. That commission that goes to YouTube is their gross transactional value. That at the end of the accounting period, they're supposed to look at and calculate what is the 1.5% of that value, then remit to the authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
So something was just going through my mind as you were explaining that, especially for the digital marketplace. Yeah. Can the tax implication be also spread to the consumer? Because you know, I know there are some people, we know them, who don't like bearing the burden of tax alone. Okay. So can it be spread to the consumer?
Actually, unfortunately, that is usually the implication of tax everywhere. That if there is an additional tax, whichever type of tax, be it DST or any other type of income tax or any other tax, it will have an effect on the end consumer. Yeah. So it's true. It normally has an effect. A good example would be in UK in 2020. This tax was introduced, and it was Amazon, Facebook, Google, Apple. They actually gave parameters on how they want to implement this tax, and one of the parameters was that they were going to increase the subscription fee for the subscriber of their services. So you see, at the end of the day, it has a direct impact on the general mwananchi, on the general consumer of service at the end of it all. Actually, I think when you look at the dailies yesterday, there was an article on Netflix, and they've indicated that from 27th of May, they are going to be remitting this tax. And that means that if you are a subscriber of Netflix, any of those three subscription bands, you'll be paying 250 shillings more to take care, and essentially because they are going to pay this tax. If you ask me, I don't think that was the main intent of this tax. These platforms or these individuals trading in the marketplace already gaining a lot of income from these services. Yeah. And as you know, because of COVID, there's increase of most of the jobs have gone online. People are trading online. Yeah. most companies have actually even converted the way they operate so that there's no physical operation. Yeah, and when you look worldwide, that can be said to be one of the drivers for the introduction of this tax. So there was income derived in the online marketplace, which was not being taxed. Of course, the government give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. It has to take its share. Thought it fit to introduce this tax. The essence was that whatever you get, 1.5% of it goes to the government. It's not that you are not supposed to increase now the value, the value of the service. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just thinking also about musicians, because you've said any downloadable content. So does it mean even like on Boomplay or on Apple Music or any other streaming platform, the musician who puts their music there should also pay tax?
Actually, that is the case. That is actually the case. Because you as the musician, the service that you're offering there is an entertainment service. And if a person downloads that music of yours and they pay, you see, so it's based on payment. So if they don't pay, then there's nothing to tax. Because remember, the tax is based on the gross transactional value, what you actually gain as the provider of the service or as the person hosting the platform. Yeah. So if you are downloading and you are paying for the service for the music, then it makes sense. The musician, they have to remit the amount. And remember, I think I need to make one thing clear. This payment is both by resident and non-resident. It doesn't matter that you're not a resident of Kenya, as long as the income is derived in Kenya. The Kenyan marketplace.
So maybe could there be certain services that are exempt from the digital service tax?
The regulation exempts certain services, particularly online services offered by the government. Of course, the government cannot tax itself.
No, but honestly, why would you levy a tax that the government cannot also pay? Okay.
The government does not pay the tax. If there are any services that are being offered by the government, then it's not supposed to pay the tax. For example, when you look at the business registration service, when you're doing the registration, there's usually a convenience fee that is, for example, if, when you're doing a search for a company or for, it's usually 150. The 50 part of it is not usually a convenience service, a convenience fee that goes to the service provider. So that's not taxed. So also services that are offered by financial institutions that enable trading in financial instruments. So if they're online services offered by banks registered under the Banking Act or under the CBK Act, microfinances, cooperative societies, or essentially, let me just say, financial services are particularly excluded from the application of this act. This is not just a trend in Kenya. When you look at the UK one, it's actually the same thing.
Okay, so maybe what would you say is the future of digital service tax in Kenya? Because now, as you've said, many forms of services have moved online. And of course, now with the creation of that tax, I think now it could be beneficial. I don't know if there are any benefits of that tax, but what do you think is the future of DST in Kenya?
So it depends on how you look at it. It is beneficial in terms of increasing the areas that are subject to tax, because now we have an introduction of a new tax base that was not there. So that is additional revenue for the country. Of course, we expect when there's additional revenue for the country, there's going to be better services for the general mwananchi. So there is
that is the case.
So there's that aspect, and secondly, I think it's only fair that these multinationals that are operating in Kenya, you can't be operating in a country, you are deriving income from that country, and then you're not contributing to the development of that country by paying taxes. So when you look at it that way, there are some benefits that come with it. Just before I go further, I think there's something we need to particularly look at. The UK law says that this tax is paid by large companies, and they go ahead to actually quantify what, or to define what amounts to a large company. They say this is a company that has a global revenue of 500 M sterling pounds, and 25 M sterling pounds are accrued in England. Yeah. So if a company meets those thresholds, then it will pay DST. Unlike in Kenya, where we've just highlighted the services that are subject to DST, we've not differentiated between these quote-unquote large companies and the small startup, someone who's just trying to make ends meet. So also when you look at it that way, you might get the feeling that this tax will not only affect the big corporation in Kenya, but affect the small mwananchi, and therefore essentially taking away the little that they earn.
Yeah, for sure. You know, as of course services have moved online, the creatives have also tried to take advantage of the online platforms. And now introducing the tax, of course, brings a lot of myriad of questions on how they will progress. But for sure in Kenya, we're told if you're born in Kenya, you can survive anywhere, you know? Yeah, not to say that I'm not patriotic, sorry. Yes, I'm Kenyan. So maybe, Emmanuel, you could tell us your parting shot, or what viewers should take home from this discussion of the digital service tax.
So one, we need to understand that this tax is payable particularly on digital services offered on digital marketplace. But most importantly, the consumer of the service must be located in Kenya. Yeah. So there are various parameters of determining whether the consumer is located in Kenya. One, there is something that we refer to as payment proximity. So that if the person paying for the services, the payments are either made by a credit or debit cards which are offered by a financial institution located in Kenya, then that person is located in Kenya, and anything that they pay is income derived from Kenya, which should be taxed. Yeah. Another important one is location proximity. So generally, if the person who is consuming the service is either has a permanent establishment in Kenya, that means they have a business in Kenya, they have a residential address in Kenya, then that person is a Kenyan for the purpose of DST. Also, there's something called terminal proximity. So if these services are being offered by a terminal that is located in Kenya, then that person, or if the services are being offered by a terminal located in Kenya, we can say that then the consumer is generally a Kenyan, and anything that they pay is income derived from Kenya, which should be subject to the tax. Yeah. So probably other important thing that we need to know is that when this tax is to be paid.
Yes.
As you indicated in our introductory remarks, the tax became effective in Kenya from 1st of January 2021. And the tax is payable on the 20th day of the month following the month on which the income was accrued. So for example, if you offered some digital services in January, then it means you have from 1st of February to 20th to file the returns and pay the tax. Not just filing the returns, file the returns and pay the tax. Yeah. So that is probably one of the most important things that we need to know. Maybe individuals are wondering, does this mean that, for example, if you're offering professional services, you normally there is a withholding tax 5% that is deducted. Does this mean that you'll have to pay the 5%, pay again the 1.5%? No. Yeah. So if you've already paid the 5% withholding tax, then you're not paying the 1.5% tax. But you see, this usually happens if, for example, you're dealing with companies. Companies have a structured way of dealing with their tax issue. So if you offer a service to a company, it will deduct the 5% and give you the remainder as your fees. But for example, if we are dealing as individuals, you'll find, for example, maybe you're not aware of this issue of withholding tax. So you'll just pay me all my professional services that I'm offering online. Then it's my obligation to remit the 1.5% to the Revenue Authority.
Okay. I hope my viewers have been able to gain more insight on the issue of digital service tax. And of course, if you have any more or any queries, you can put in the comment section and we'll be careful to try and answer. So Emmanuel, thank you.
Thank you so much
for joining us today, and thank you for the discussion, and hope to see you in another discussion.
Hope to see you too. It was nice meeting you.
Oh,
it's been a while, and I think Corona has really made the world to be. We are closer because of internet, yet we are far apart because we can't meet. So I pleasure such opportunities. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you too.